guys, so today I'm going to be reviewing Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Pride and Prejudice is the first British classic I've ever read, so I didn't really know what to expect when I started reading it. When I thought about reading it beforehand, it often felt quite daunting because it's such a widely revered classic, so obviously there's a lot of pressure to like it. So the novel is about a family called the Bennets, which consists of Mr. Bennet, Mrs. Bennet, and their 5 children, who are all girls. The novel mainly centres around the second oldest child called Elizabeth Bennet, and Mrs. Bennet wants all of her 5 children to marry well and very soon. The novel opens up with a Mr. Bingley entering the place that they live in a place called Netherfield Hall. Although I found that the plot could be a little slow in places, this meant that you could see all the little intricacies of the characters and of their lives, which I really enjoyed, and there wasn't a boring moment, but I did feel like a lot more could have happened in some places. Talking about characters, I really warmed to Elizabeth. She was definitely one of my favourite characters in the book. I think Elizabeth stands out as one of the best female protagonists I've ever read about because she is so different to the stereotypical female that you would think about in relation to the time period. I loved how Elizabeth gave women of the era a voice because they can often be seen as meek and quiet, but Elizabeth definitely proved that this is not the case. And the novel in fact does have many feminist themes which I really enjoyed reading about because it was such a surprise to me on reading the novel because it's not something you typically expect. Now on to the character of Mr. Darcy, who was explored so thoroughly in the novel that I feel like I almost know him personally. I loved seeing Mr. Darcy's character arc as the novel progressed. It definitely stands out throughout the novel as you find out more about him and how he might not necessarily be as bad as everybody thinks. A major theme in the novel is marrying for love, which is something that Jane Austen believed in. It's something that was uncommon then, and we see through each of the Bennet sisters a different take on this. One of the things that I worried most about was the language, but I found it pretty easy to get into once I'd started reading more and more of the novel. I actually find it quite easy to understand once I'd got about halfway through the book and I'd really got into the mind of how language worked then and how it's different now. So I really enjoyed Pride and Prejudice, and I gave it 5 stars because I really couldn't give it anything less. I love the moment when you read a book and you know that it's going to change your life in some way, however small that may be. Pride and Prejudice is definitely a life-changing book. I love historical fiction, so to read a book told from a contemporary person is brilliant because it gave me more of an insight than if I was to read a book written from an author now. So I'm definitely going to be reading more of Austen's works in the future. I particularly want to try Emma or Northanger Abbey. So I gave Pride and Prejudice 5 stars. I absolutely adored it. I'm going to be watching the BBC miniseries right away because I've heard that it's amazing. Yeah, I can't get enough of Pride and Prejudice. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and I will see you guys soon. Happy reading!